Hello everyone, and welcome to Sunup. I'm Lyndall Stout. Oklahoma's wheat harvest is starting to wind down. And for an update on how things went this year, we're joined by David Marburger, our Extension Small Grain Specialist. And David, why don't we just kind of start with an overview of how things went around the state?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Lyndall, harvest is starting to wind down for the most part when we look at Oklahoma. We're probably over 3/4 of the way done. And actually in southern Oklahoma, south of I-40, we're pretty well done there as we venture into central and north central Oklahoma. It's actually getting on the back end there too, starting to wind down. But harvest out in the Panhandle is really starting to pick up. Last week, the warmer temperatures, dry air, it's really pushed things along quickly out there, and so harvest is getting up and going out in that particular region. But for the most part, we've been moving along pretty well throughout the state with harvest this year. Overall, pretty good conditions. We did run into some rainfall events here and there in some certain areas. So in a few areas such as west central Oklahoma, they got delayed a little bit because of some of the rain.
Let's talk about quality and kind of what we've been seeing at the elevators once the wheat's been delivered.
So, well, biggest thing a lot of people are always interested in is yield. Yields have been kind of all over the board depending on where you're at. Seeing yields within the mid-teens to mid-20s, but a lot of yields coming in the mid-30s, mid-40s, other yields coming in a lot better than that, 50s, 60s, pushing even 70 bushels per acre. Test weight for the most part has been hanging in there. Earlier reports were coming in, test weights above 60 pounds per bushel. As we've kind of gotten delayed in some of those areas because of some of the rainfall, the test weights is starting to drop a little bit, but still overall test weight's pretty good in the high 50s for the most part. Early reports on some of the other quality characteristics we think about. Protein, a lot of protein levels coming in at about that 10.5 to 11.5% range. It's not to say that we have had some grain samples come in with better protein than that, but overall kind of been a little bit lower than where we'd like to see it, which was what we kind of expected when we were going into harvest this year. So as we continue to finish up harvest, we'll see where we kind of end up in terms of quality. We'll get some of those samples sent in to start looking at some of those other quality characteristics as well and see how that's been faring based on the grain samples we've been getting this year.
We're standing here in the variety test plots, and they've been harvested. You have these around the state. You have some data that's coming in, and you and the team are putting that together. What's the progress on that?
Absolutely. So we've got a number of locations that span basically across the wheat belt within Oklahoma, then out into the Panhandle region, and we can't forget about northeastern Oklahoma. And we have 4 sites out in the Panhandle region right now. Those are our only sites which are remaining. But for the remaining locations, there's about 15 of them around the state. Those have been harvested, and those results are actually available on the homepage of the wheat.okstate.edu website.
Okay, and it's a good thing for producers to kind of take a look at between now and planting time so they can make some decisions about what kind of seed they may want this coming year.
Absolutely. A lot of different varieties in the trials this year.
And just like the individual farm, there's lots of specific decisions to make, or even the individual wheat field.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of the other work, speaking of science, that you and the team are doing, and some of the conferences and meetings that are coming up later this summer that folks can take part in.
Yeah, so I just want to put a quick plug in for this summer. We've got a few more meetings that are going to be coming up. Our summer crops conferences that Dr. Lofton and I are working on trying to compile for this year. We've got 4 different locations set up for this year, so it's going to all take place about mid-July. And the goal with these conferences are to provide growers with information based on the certain types of cropping systems within those particular areas.
And we want to just say congratulations to you and your wife on the arrival of your new baby boy.
Yep. So my wife and I had our first child, Caleb. He was born on May 22nd, so right before harvest got started. So he's 4 weeks old now, and he's off to a good start, growing like a weed and changing, and we're having a lot of fun with him.
Terrific.
So thank you.
Congratulations, David. And for a link to the conferences and to the variety test plots that David mentioned, go to sunup.okstate.edu. If you want to go ahead and mark your calendar now for one of the upcoming crops conferences, here's a look at the dates. July 10th in Ardmore, July 13th in El Reno, July 17th in Alva, and July 20th in Afton. The meetings are open to the public, and there's no charge to attend.